I actually heard the phrase low hanging fruit the other day, and I immediately got PTSD from our old meetings.
Where'd you hear it?
It was at work. I forgot what it was about though.
Um, bro. So how about that Rabona?
That Rabona was the only good thing about the game today, and Lucas Moura.
Lucas Moura was
Um,
fantastic,
he was,
but
dude. I
really he
think
didn't start
that
doing real good till he went out on the left for Son. I think
he was doing good on the outside, but I really like the way we play him in that number 10 role where
behind Kane.
Ndombele was at the beginning of the season and where Dele Alli usually plays when he comes in as a
Yeah,
sub. Because he's so quick in the middle of the pitch that all the defensive midfielders are just trying. It seems like he's one step ahead of everyone else in the middle of the pitch. So he's basically dancing around the Arsenal midfielders. But yeah, man, Lucas had a really good game. I think we got the full Lamella experience today. He came
from
on
A to
early
Z.
on after unfortunately Sant went down with an injury. And yeah, the freaking Rabona goal, man, that was ridiculous. I didn't even think he was going to get that off, to be honest. I thought he was going to have to hit it with that right foot, but as we know with Lamella, he's allergic to using that right foot. He's a purely left-footed, negative five-star weak foot player. But yeah, man, it brought me back to his first Rabona goal back in 2014 in the Europa League.
That was outside the box, right?
Yeah, it was like just outside the box. It was incredible too because he got some dip under it and he got some air underneath the ball to where it was in the top right corner of the net. But it's a lot different when you scored in the North London derby. Unfortunately, there were no fans to be there to see it or no fans there to shush after he scored that. But yeah, man, I really enjoyed the way Lamella plays. I really, really do. But on the other end of that spectrum, you see what's on the other end of that stick. You know what I mean? When you bring Lamella on, there's always that risk of him, talking shit to other players and banging up the other midfielders on the opposing team. And then
Personally, I like that.
sometimes you get an elbow to the face apparently, and obviously you can't do that. So I think we definitely got the full Lamella experience tonight. It was just very, very disappointing because I felt like if he hadn't had that reckless second yellow card, we would have had a much better chance at equalizing there at the end rather than clawing back from the death with 10 men on the pitch. It's not a recipe for success. And, I think there's plenty of blame to go around today, but Lamella was definitely the biggest thing for me is in that second half. It was just a small split second selfish decision that he made, which obviously the loss wasn't 100% on him, but it would have been so nice to have 11 men in the last 15 or so minutes when we actually did starting playing decently. And that's not to excuse the other 75 minutes because you got to play a full 90, right?
Yeah, it was almost like the first 45 before his goal. I mean, his goal, that was what, our first shot on target and our
Something
only
like
shot on
that,
target
yeah.
until like the 60th, 70th minute, something like that. So it was like,
I think he had both shots on target. There was one in the second half early on where he had a shot on target too, and I think for a good while he had our only two shots on target the entire match. I don't know what happened, man. We looked like a completely different team from last Thursday to today. We were pressing high against Dynamo Zagreb, and we were pretty much suffocating their back line to where they had to make a lot of important decisions with not a lot of time to do it. And I
we
think we
weren't
just
really
made
pressing at
them.
all.
No, we weren't. We were sitting back for some reason. For the first half, especially, we were inviting pressure. We were inviting them to come into our half, and it got to a point where it was just frustrating, man. It was frustrating to watch because we were a much, much better team, in my opinion. And we had a lot stronger of a lineup than Arsenal did, which was really frustrating too. I felt like today was an opportunity to go just a few points back from fifth or fourth.
It would be 3 points off. If
We
we
would
would have
have,
won, we would have been 3 points off of fourth place
yeah,
behind Chelsea. Um, Even if West Ham were to win against Manchester United, then we would have still been equal on them, but with goal differential. But now, I mean, I haven't looked at the
yeah,
table, to be completely
we would
honest.
have leapt over Everton into fifth at least. And then now we're still sitting sixth place, what, 5 points back of fourth, and what, 2 points back from fifth with like a game in hand. Or now we're level on games with Everton. It's just frustrating, man. We had a lot stronger of a side than Arsenal did today. We had a chance to, I believe it would have been the first time ever for a manager to win his first three North London derbies if Mourinho had won today. And also, it would have been the first time we had won both fixtures in a single season against Arsenal since the first year of the Premier League in '93. I think that's what they said pregame. Like, it was just such a great opportunity to like build momentum, build confidence for Bale to keep going. We'll get to Bale in a little bit, but I thought he was invisible today. It was very disappointing. And then I felt bad for Kane, man. He had like zero service today, especially in that first half. No chances, no shots on target. He had a really
He had
good
one
cross.
touch at like 30
Yeah,
something minutes.
he had a really good cross early second half, to where Delhi couldn't get on the end of that cross. He was in a really good position there. And then obviously the free kicks, almost what the first one almost went in. So it's just frustrating,
Oh,
man.
that
It
first
was
one hit
just,
the post, and then
yeah.
Sanchez had the rebound, and it was blocked away by I think Thomas. I'm not sure.
What
Um,
were your thoughts on the penalty decision?
um, I mean, it's hard to say because he definitely kind of just blatantly bull rushed in there, but also
Whacked him a little bit.
the ball had already left Lacazette's foot, if I'm not mistaken. Like by the time
Yeah.
he collided with him, so like he didn't affect the shot, he didn't affect the play, but I think like textbook, that's that's a penalty. I
Yeah.
think because he just kind of rushed in there and made contact, even if the guy didn't have the ball or not. I feel like they would have still given that kind of blatant physical contact in the box. I think they would have given that to him anyway. That's just my opinion. Other than that, I thought Sanchez had a pretty decent game as far as Sanchez standards are concerned. Um,
Yeah. I mean, he didn't have any
he's
other
not a
blatant
liability
mess
like out there on the
ups.
right side, if I may. I don't know.
Yeah. So
Watford is on the
I'll
bench.
say
And
I will say that I didn't disagree with the penalty call, but I still thought it was kind of soft. I think it's
for
a
as much
foul.
as
I think
for
it's
as
a
much as was
foul.
going that game, I will agree with that. He let a lot of things go that entire game. A lot of elbows, a lot of hits in
Yep.
the back, and I was like, he's gonna let this be a physical game. But then you're right. As soon as he got in the box, I was like, just a little contact, and he called it. So
Yeah. And then I mean, I won't blame Lacazette for diving because if you feel any sort of contact in the box, you just know you're supposed to go down and let the referee make the decision. But um, at the end of the day, man, it was just a reckless challenge from Sanchez. It was a late challenge, if I may correct myself. I don't think it was really that reckless. I think he just got there too late. It was too little, too late. Like you said, the ball had already left, pretty much left Lacazette's foot at that point. But they banged into each other. It's in the penalty area. At the end of the day, it's a decision that has to be
yeah, I
made. And
mean,
unfortunately, it went the other way, and not our way today.
I agree. I think Region did a really good job there on the right side. He locked up Saka pretty good. Then when Saka got subbed for Pepe,
Yeah, Pepe.
uh, he kind of gave a problem. I mean, I know their goal came from or they almost had a goal or something. He
It was
serviced
a
the
cross
ball.
from the left side. Doherty got stuck out there on in a
That was their
one-on-one
first goal. Yeah,
situation. Yeah, their first goal. Tierney
cross.
pretty much just passed him. He gave one faint move and went the opposite way and was
He made
pretty
him pick up
much
some
dusted him.
groceries. I call that
Basically,
making him pick up some groceries. He's like, here, I'm gonna drop that can right there. Can you pick it up? And
yeah.
Darby
And then I
obliged.
I can't remember who was in the middle. I want to say Hoybier and then maybe Sanchez was in the vicinity, but no one closed down Odegaard, and it was just an unlucky deflection through Toby's legs. At the end of the day, there were no spectacular goals scored by Arsenal, and yet they still won the game. Sometimes it's just how it goes.
I almost felt like this right out the gate. We were expecting them to do something, and we seemed unsure. I don't know if it had to do with the fact that Aubameyang was not starting for conduct reasons, or he was late to a meeting. I think I heard. Um, I think that kind of threw off what we thought. we were going into,
Yeah.
or kind of what we thought they were going to do. So it's almost like the first 20 minutes we were like, let's see what they're doing. Whereas it was, in my opinion, if we play like we play in the Europe, I mean, granted, I know you got to take it with a grain of salt. It is the Europa League against, what is that,
The Croatian,
Bulgarian,
the number one
Croatian
Croatian
team? I
team.
don't even
Yeah.
know what country they're from, but the things that we do there, I know we're not exponentially faster than every player in the world, but like we have that quick burst, and I feel like we just have no creativity in the midfield. I think Ndombele just kind of got locked into thinking defensively, and he wasn't given that freedom to roam. Uh, I think that's where our problems are. I mean, there was several times throughout that game where it was just I felt to me that Toby and Sanchez were kind of like, okay, let's pass it to Hugo. Let's see if he can kick it long, or Toby would kick it long. Toby had a nice little chip over the midfield at one point in the game, but like it just seems like 8 out of 10 times we're going to be just passing it between the back line, and then they press us and we struggle to get it to our midfielders, and then the midfielders turn up the ball. I think Pierre-Emile Højbjerg, I think, he's had a rough couple of weeks, but outside of that, he's been one of our top players. I'd say top three before Bale started coming on the scene. And then weirdly, that's whenever Højbjerg started kind of not playing as well as he had all season. He's almost gone back to the way he played against Everton in that first game.
Yeah.
But, I think that's just accumulation of games. I think that's just tired head, tired legs. And I mean, I know that COVID season's not easy on anyone, but it's just, yeah, it is unfortunate. I did feel bad for Kane out there. You see him kind of do a couple of rough fouls. It's like, man,
Yep.
I feel for the guy. He's dropping back in the defense, trying to get the ball to play to someone just so he can run upfield and try to make a play.
Yeah. And
But
speaking of legs, man, the Son injury didn't help early on. I think
no,
that also changed the entire dynamic of the game. He and it was on a normal play, one of those trademark Son runs from a Toby long ball, and I think who was it? Dan Kilpatrick on Twitter had said that this was, I think he hadn't missed a single Premier League game this season, Son. And I think just the accumulation of games finally caught up to his body, unfortunately. Um,
yeah, and unfortunately, it's a muscle injury too. So that
yeah, and he,
doesn't
he
bode well.
immediately came off. Uh, there wasn't really any debate whether or not he was staying on. He pretty much looked like he wanted to come off as soon as he went down.
In my heart, though,
Um,
when he stood up and walked a little bit, I was like, "Oh, he might be up."
it,
No,
it might not be as bad, but with a hamstring injury like that, I'm giving it like 2 to 3 weeks at least, which is unfortunate. Hopefully he'll be back for the Carabao Cup final in April.
I hope he's had a couple of games under his belt before then to get his legs right. I was
Yeah, but
honestly hoping for something similar to the last time we played Arsenal this season.
yeah,
Nice thumb curler off the right foot. I mean, it's unfortunate. Also, I mean, I, I just feel like we also don't have a really good free kicker. If it's not Bale, Kane's always over or just hitting the post or hitting the wall.
yeah. That's like the second time. Today was the second time he had hit the post, and then it was like the 100th time he hit it over the bar on free kicks. I think he hit the post, or he hit the crossbar against Man City before we lost that game too. And then today he hit the post again, which would have been the equalizer. I just feel like Tottenham can never get those lucky breaks at the end of games where you need like that little bit of magic to get you some results here and there.
West Ham United final
And
20 minutes.
yeah, and it just doesn't feel like luck has ever really been on our side in those types of situations. It sucks, man. It really does suck. But it is what it is. Don't really have much time to think about this one because we're back into Europa League action on Thursday again.
Is that
And
our only hope? Is that what gives us hope for Champions League at all? I mean, because top
right
four,
now,
I felt like a win with top would put us in the conversation for top four again. Now, uh,
I still think we're in the top four conversation, but as of right now, I would say yes. I would say that's our only way of getting into the Champions League next year. At this point, we can't rely
but
on our
you have to
league
win it
form to
all, though,
carry us
right?
in. You do. You have to win it all. And that's the other tough part because there's a lot of good teams still in the competition. You have obviously there's Arsenal, United, Milan, United or Milan. One of those two are going to lose. Who else do you have? You have
Young
some
boys have
other,
been trending as well.
yeah, and then I think are Ajax still in it? Or they might have gotten knocked out. I'm not sure, but there's a few big name teams still in the Europa League this year, and it's
Olympiacos.
definitely not a cakewalk either. It's definitely not a
Yeah.
cakewalk. It's going to be tough. We're going to have to play one of these tough or top clubs pretty soon here. I wouldn't mind seeing United. Um, to be honest, I don't know how I feel about another Arsenal game. I feel like once they have our number during the season, they don't really let up in future fixtures. So I don't know if I would
When's
necessarily
the
want
last
to want
time
to
that
see
they
them.
even beat us though? I don't feel that way. I feel Arsenal any day of
The
the week we
last
we should win.
the last time they beat us was 2 years ago in was it 2 years? Yeah, it was the 2018-19 season. It was 18-19 away, I believe. It was at the Emirates as well. Because obviously we beat them the last time in 2020. We beat them with no fans in 2020 as well last season. And then the first fixture in
We
that
beat them.
game, we tied at the Emirates, and that was the last Pochettino North London derby. So I think it was the one before that one where it was at the
Okay.
Emirates. Eric Dyer had shushed the fans, and we proceeded to lose like 3-1. It was great, but yeah,
Eric Dyer. I don't miss seeing him out there too much.
yeah, and I'm starting to get tired of it. I'm starting to get into Ben Davies territory with Matt Doherty, dude. I was really hoping he would put in a good shift today. I didn't think he was great. Mourinho said he played spectacularly against Dynamo. I didn't think he played
Yeah.
spectacularly, but I didn't think he played bad. Like I thought he had a fine game for like what it was. He wasn't like a game changer or anything like that, but he also wasn't a liability. Today he was a liability. They were punishing us on that left wing all day long,
The entire
and
game.
they didn't.
Yeah.
He never had an answer for Tierney or Smith Rowe. It was ridiculous. You have this obviously a decent left back, probably one of the best in the Premier League this season, but Smith Rowe is a young kid who's probably like what 18, 19 years old, I think,
I
that came
think
from
20.
Arsenal's
I thought I heard
academy,
20. Yeah.
and you're gonna let him come in a North London derby and boss you around. Like I get it's your first start in North London derby, bro, but
How
like
many years you
still,
been
like
in the
this is the
Premier League though?
rivalry.
How
Yeah,
many years you been in the Premier League?
this is the rivalry for Tottenham players and Tottenham fans, the entire club. He put in a terrible performance today, man. Terrible. I think that was the worst performance I've ever seen. It's up there with first game of the year at Everton. It was up there with I felt like he had a really bad game against what was it, Chelsea maybe? I forget. He had another bad performance earlier this year
I'm
where it was
I'm
just
gonna
like,
tell you
bro,
right
get him
now.
off the field.
Other than that sloppy lob pass he had to Kane for the game winner, I think it was against Brighton,
No, it was West Brom. You're thinking of West
West
Brom, huh?
Brom.
With the yellow kids?
Yeah, that was the. Other than that, I would say Doherty is lower on my list than Ben Davies, and that's pretty low. Um,
I would say
but I
Ben
mean, I thought
Davies
he came
won, and then
in.
I think Doherty too. Like I think it's actually gotten to that point where I'm tired of it, man. We need to be playing Tanganga backup right back rather
Aurier was on the
than
bench. I
Doughboy
mean,
at this point.
I
Yeah,
agree.
and I think it was just Mourinho instilling some confidence and belief in Doughboy to where he could get some confidence up, make a good run in these next few games. I think that's what it was, man. But it wasn't it. We needed Aurier today. We definitely did.
Because
Obviously
then we
we're
actually
we're
might have had an
vulnerable to
offensive
like
threat.
yeah, we're vulnerable to like one or maybe one defensive mistake from Aurier a game, and it's usually not gonna kill us. And I would have much rather have taken that besides Doherty, dude, because he wasn't doing anything on that right back spot today. He was caught in no man's land. He would get pulled away from attackers when somebody else would make a run where he needs to stick to his position. He was just in the wrong situation for most of the day, and it's just not a recipe for success. It's really not. And it's like I mentioned already, I'm getting to the point where I just want to see Tanganga getting reps at backup right back. But I know that's not going to happen because Mourinho refuses to play him there anymore. I think Mourinho thinks he's a center back now. just pure center back or left back, backup left back. Because I don't think we've seen Tanganga in the right back spot as a starter. I don't think this year. I think we've
I
only
think
seen
he's
him at center back
Marine,
and left
didn't
back.
he? Wasn't he in
I think he
Marine?
was, but I think he was left back. Remember, he was left back, and they put Ben Davies at central. He was in like the left center back position because we went with the
Yeah,
back three
yeah,
that game. So
that's
it
right.
was Tanganga was on the left, I believe, and then Aurier was on the right, or maybe it was Doherty. I couldn't remember, but it was the game where Ben Davies played in a back three as a center back.
Yeah,
So
and
yeah,
he was also the captain. Um, but before we just continue to shovel dig on Matt Doherty, I got one other thing to say about this guy that I hate being right, especially when it's about something negative. And I said before the game in our little group chat that I was like, I love this lineup, but we got one flat tire. And you told me to be positive. I tried to be positive. I really tried watching
I think
him,
we all did. We all tried for like the first 20 minutes, and then after that, it was pretty much out the window.
pick up all those groceries. I thought he would be a better, Uber Eats delivery driver than he would right back in the Premier League. Um, I've never been a fan of the guy. I saw him when he was on Wolves. I've never, outside of Adama Traore, I don't know what the Wolves have in much players, but it just to me, I've never been impressed by the guy. Never, I just always thought his body language was really poor, and I thought his facial expressions just seemed like he was angry to be there, or he was trying to look tough, and he's not a tough guy. He's not tough. He's very doughy. That's why I call him Doughboy.
Doughboy.
I've always called him Doughboy, and you know, I just I think it's time. I really, honestly, truly believe that Jose Mourinho felt so strongly about this guy. They got him. They brought him in. It was a guy that Jose Mourinho in the Amazon documentary admitted that he really was game planning against. So he got a guy that he wanted, and it's just unfortunately not been working out, not at least in this system.
Yeah,
And
he plays better with a back three, and we don't play in a back three. I think the reason why we bought Doherty was well, because obviously we bought him before we got Reguilon, and so I think we were Mourinho was anticipating that Ben Davies was going to be our starting left back this season for like all year, and since Ben Davies doesn't really like to move up the field, or even when he does, he's just shit. I think that's why we got Doherty because usually when you have a more defensive left back like Ben Davies is, and you play in a back three system, you can afford to kind of slip him into a back four and push the right wing back further up the field. I think that's what Mourinho's game plan was with Doherty when he first came in. And then now that we have a very good attacking left back, we can't afford to do that anymore. And it's kind of like, well, now Doherty, you gotta start defending, man. Like you gotta start being more like a right back rather than a right wing back. Like it was in hindsight, obviously it was a poor decision, but I understand where he was coming from in the summer. But I think you gotta sell him in this summer, man. I don't think you can do it
I think
anymore
at that time
because
also
he's what,
they were still
29
trying
at
to
this
deal
point now?
Aurier.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's
And
29.
And then we might be losing Aurier this year because he hasn't signed a new contract. And so now there's talks of him possibly leaving this summer. That way we could at least get some money for him. But at that point, now you have to start looking for a starting right back.
And to
So
your point earlier, I think whenever we brought on Matt Doughboy, we also were expecting. I think at the time AC Milan was interested in Aurier, and we thought we might lose him, but the deal never happened.
yeah,
And
thank God it didn't because if Doughboy's
I
been our
mean,
starting right back all year, that would not be good.
I think Doughboy's been worse than Aurier was last year when Aurier was
Yeah, I agree.
horrendous.
Yeah, I
And
agree.
Aurier's actually been good. I think there's something going on there with him and Mourinho. I remember one game he got scratched, even though he traveled. Um, so I think there's something going on there that behind the scenes we'll never completely know. But I will say that give me anybody, give me Tanganga, like you said, give me Tanganga on the right side, or give me Tanganga in the center and put Aurier out there. I think they work well together. We've seen that a few times.
Yeah.
I it's Anyway, moving on. We should move on from. That's a pretty depressing subject. We continue on this right back conversation. I was like, well, what have we got there? Who could we call on? And it's like it's not a good feeling thinking about that right back position.
For sure.
Um, so there was something else that I've been watching throughout this year, and it's whenever they cut to Jose and you see his body language, and the first half he's kind of sitting down in his chair and he's not really too animated. He gets up every now and then, and kind of as the game goes on, he's more and more Jose in the box. Um, do you think that that plays into like, as you could tell, our in the beginning when Jose's sitting, we were pretty flat. You could say that we were just sitting as well.
Yeah.
Do you think there's any correlation there? Do you think there's anything there? Am I just too big of a conspiracy theorist to see beyond? Um, Although I
So
like that, I like that kit. It's a very nice one.
yeah, she sadly wore it today in support.
My wife didn't wear the socks, so that's what I'm blaming the
That's
loss
probably
on.
that's probably why we lost, huh? Because
Yeah,
your wife didn't wear the socks.
that's exactly why we lost. She should have worn the socks.
So what was your question again? What was your
Um,
conspiracy theory?
it's not too much a conspiracy theory, more as just a thought that it feels like the team's energy matches Jose Mourinho's sideline energy. You notice throughout the game in the first half, he's kind of sitting there. He's always sitting back, and it's I think Jao Sacramento who's barking most of the orders. And he's kind of taking notes, and then in the second half, he's kind of more animated, more yelling at players, and more kind of when we started to pick up. And it's just my thought is, do you think that plays into the players' mentality at all? They're like kind of relaxed, not too into it, and then all of a sudden, oh, Jose's really pissed. Now it's running around. What do you think that plays?
I don't know if I would say that would play into like uh, here's what I would say. Um, I think the players' energy obviously wasn't where it needed to be today. I think Mourinho I think the reason why Mourinho sits back sometimes and just kind of observes, takes notes, maybe lets his assistants bark out some orders instead of him. I think he's letting his team try to grow into the game, or maybe letting some potential leaders in the starting 11, either voice their opinion or step up to kind of lead the team back into the game. And I think that when he realized that that wasn't happening, I think that's when he kind of jumped in. But I think that's why he does it because obviously, Hugo's the captain. I'd like him to be a little bit more vocal, especially with that back line. And then obviously you have Højbjerg, who he loves kind of as his midfield general. And then you have Kane up top and the attacking force where he's one of the more vocal players. So I think it was just giving other players an opportunity to speak up and try to get the team out of the ruts. And unfortunately it didn't really work too well today.
I have a note here in the 54th minute about our good friend Matt Doherty. Um, it was a bad back pass to Lloris that forced him to come out, and then he kind of slid and kicked the ball out to the left, to the right side to avoid a corner. But that's just when you talk
Yeah, you're
about
talking about the
just
header, right? Where they
communication.
were passing it back and he tried to head the ball to Hugo and instead it almost went out of bounds for a corner. That's what you're
Yeah,
talking about, right?
I believe that. I believe we're on.
Yeah.
It was in the
Yeah.
second half in the 54th minute.
Yeah. And I think the announcers, when that happened, they were like, well, this is exactly what we've been talking about. He can't handle the simple passes. I think he's letting the game get a little bit too much to him.
Speaking of
Yeah, man. It was,
announcers, I've about enough had enough. I don't know if it's just the American broadcast, but it seems like every time Tottenham plays, they have former Arsenal player, former Arsenal bootlicker, former.
I
It's just
think it was
always
Alan Smith today. I think it was former
that
Arsenal
duo.
player Alan Smith.
They just couldn't get off of Arsenal's good. Like they couldn't say anything bad. It, to me, I'm so tired of it. I'm so tired of just these. It's biased. You can hear it. Even when we do something great, it's like forcing them to say something good about us. It just
Yeah.
doesn't feel. I feel like I said, maybe it's just the American broadcast on NBC or because I think it's usually on NBC that I'm like, wow, this guy's. And I watch other Premier League games on NBC. I watch. It's usually either they're just talking so great about Manchester United or Arsenal, or
Yeah. And
they're
they'll
forced to
always
talk
show
good about
bias.
City. But
They'll always show bias towards the historically good Premier League clubs just because it's easy to.
do you
And
remember
then
that ESPN thing that came out? They didn't even know they were recording, and they were talking all this shit about Harry Kane,
about Harry Kane, yep.
about how he talks, and about his he's so boring, and
The
they hate
agenda's
talking
always
about
been
him.
there, man. Even when he was young. I remember when he first broke out, it was 2014-15 season. Scored some bangers against Arsenal, Chelsea, City, United that year, I believe so, or maybe not United. I think United beat us both times that year, but it was like the first full season of the Harry Kane emergence, and at the end of the year, there was like two sides of the Harry Kane argument at the end of that 2014-15 season. There was the Tottenham supporters, obviously, and everyone who liked Spurs who was saying, "Oh, we found our next starting striker. This is the next big thing. You know, he came from the academy, proper Spurs. He's going to be awesome." And then you had the other side of the coin, the other crowd who said he was going to be a one season wonder. Didn't have all of the skills to last in the Premier League for multiple seasons. He's going to flame out and go join like a mid table side for the rest of his career. And now look where he is. Like it's the agenda against Harry Kane and Tottenham throughout the years is very evident in most of the media and other fans just because they love making fun of us. But like for players like Harry Kane and stuff like that, it's so unfair, man. Like the hate that they get for the way they talk, the way they look, like it's ridiculous, man. It really is.
And I'm gonna ask the question: does Harry Kane stay with Tottenham Hotspur, or does he move on somewhere else trying to win trophies? Does he trophy chase? I've heard, I saw a clip or something on him on a podcast, and he was talking about that he just wants to win, and if he doesn't feel like they're doing things to win, then he would leave.
I think it
Um,
depends on the end of the season, how the end of the season goes.
does a Carabao Cup keep Harry Kane?
Yeah, I think if we win at least one trophy, he stays 100%. Because I guess, he's starting to taste the victory and he wants more with Tottenham. I think that's kind of the mentality he would have if we did win either the Carabao Cup or the Europa League. But if we don't win any trophies this year and we fall outside of the top four, I think he stays one more year and then leaves. The only reason why I don't think he would leave this summer is just because of the economical climate surrounding the transfer windows and stuff like that. And plus, I just feel like he's too valuable to the team to let go for cheap. So if Daniel Levy's going to name his price for Harry Kane, if it does come to that, and he's probably not going to take a penny short of that figure. So he can, if he wants to leave, that's fine. I really, I get it. He's been here for a while, hasn't won anything, but it's not up to him and it's not up to us. It's about Daniel Levy actually accepting the money for him. And I don't see him doing that anytime soon, to be honest, unless things get way out of control between now and the end of the year. But I think he
Yeah,
does stay one more year, at least one more year. But if we don't win
I have a hard
anything
time
this year
believing
and
he
next
leaves.
year, he's gone.
Yeah, I do have a hard time believing that he leaves. Especially, it's unfortunate to say. I would hate to say that we only walk away with the Carabao Cup after this season. Especially with I think all the hope and dreams that we had.
Bro, I'll
Um,
take that. I will take a Carabao Cup. I have been a Tottenham supporter since like 2014, and I have not seen a single trophy lifted from those players. I will gladly take a Carabao Cup at this point because to see all those talented teams throughout the years, especially the 16-17 season where we got second place, 15-16 where we got third place in a two-horse race, blew the title to Leicester. Like there's so many talented teams in the past 5 years in Tottenham history, and to not see any of them win a trophy it was brutal, man. Like brutal. Players like obviously Harry Kane, Human Son, Toby Alderweireld, Hugo Lloris. I know he won a World Cup, but at the club level, he's never won a major trophy with Tottenham. He hasn't won a single trophy with Tottenham. Gareth Bale's only seen one trophy with Tottenham, and then obviously Dele Alli, along with the other young guys who he came up with, along with like Harry Kane and Danny Rose and all those guys. But yeah, man, I'll take a Carabao Cup at this point. I really don't care. It's a trophy is a trophy at this point. I'll take it.
No, I understand that. I can get behind that. I just, you know, I am always hoping for the most
Yeah,
until the very last moment. So like in the games, it's the same thing. 89th minute stoppage time. I'm like, right here, come on, this is it. Right here,
yeah,
come on, this is it. And a lot of times it's not it. A lot of times I'm just there hoping, and my wife looks over and she knows that my silence means not good things.
yeah,
Um, so for someone like me, if Manchester City wasn't having such a good year, I would say, I mean, if it was, say, Manchester United had the most points at what they're at, I would
yeah,
still be dreaming and hoping for a league title, but I don't think that is realistic, obviously. And is it when can that be a reality? When can this team be in a position? Honestly, when we signed Bale, I was just imagining vintage Bale, and obviously it took a while for him to get himself going. Um, but then I started seeing how Sergio Reguilon was playing out the left side. I was like, man, we got something serious here, and it's definitely not failed. I would say I feel like failure is a pretty big word, but I would say um, taking some time to get going, so to speak,
yeah,
taking a little bit to go, and for me, it's I'm in this for the long ride. I'll talk until I die. It's my one and only club. Uh, but that was nice when we were at the top of the league, wasn't it?
it
We
was,
were sitting at the
man.
top. I took
Where
pictures. I
we
was like,
thought we thought
we
we
were
were gonna
like,
bring home like
oh,
the treble. We were gonna win the league, Europa
the
League, and the
quadruple,
Carabao
baby. We
Cup.
were still in
Yeah,
FA. It was
and the FA
quadruple
Cup.
time. Oh
Yeah,
my god,
that seems
those are
like
good
such a long
times.
time ago, to be honest, man. That seems like such a long time ago. What was it? It was before the Liverpool game, right? We were second in the league, they were first, and now we're sixth
Yeah,
and they're seventh. What a fall from grace that both us and Liverpool have had since then.
well, I can't say I'm upset to watch Liverpool fall. Only
Me
hope is that
neither.
we can climb above them on their way down. But I'm looking here at our next Premier League game because we do play Thursday.
Yeah, we have
In
what we have is it Burnley on Sunday? Who is it?
Aston Villa,
Aston Villa, that's right.
which they
That's right.
just tied Crystal, no, not Crystal Palace. They just tied Newcastle.
They're decent. I really like Jack Grealish. I really think that
Ollie Watkins has come on as well.
we had almost signed Jack Grealish this summer. We signed Ndombele and Lo Celso. I remember that. We had almost signed Jack Grealish and we had almost signed Bruno Fernandes. And looking back on it, I would gladly take those two. That imagine Jack Grealish and Bruno Fernandes in the same midfield. That would be sexy. And we could have had it. And ultimately, Daniel Levy didn't pull the trigger on the price tag for either of them. So
I don't
it is
want
what it
to
is.
mention it because all I can think of is Bruno Fernandez looking like Eddie Murphy's character in Shrek.
Yeah,
Uh, so I don't want to imagine it. Also because I just can't stand watching Manchester United. And
yeah,
so for me, I don't want to imagine it. Jack Grealish is a very handsome man, and that'd be nice. But he's also kind of injury prone. I think them tiny little shin pads he wears ain't doing anyone any good. But I do think that he is a threat offensively against us. Um,
hmm
and looking, you mentioned Bruno Fernandez. After Villa, we have Newcastle, and then
and then United.
Bruno Fernandez and Manchester United. So it'd be interesting. It will definitely sting now that you mentioned that if Grealish happens to be the hero of that game, and same thing with Bruno. Um,
Yeah, it'll be interesting to
hopefully,
see who plays on Thursday because obviously you got to keep Sunday in mind. But you have a knockout game on Thursday, so I expect a stronger lineup Thursday. Honestly, I don't think we'll see Bale on Thursday. after the performance he had today, and the number of minutes that he's played in the last 2 weeks. I
Yeah,
honestly think Mourinho might give him a rest on Thursday. So if he does, hopefully he'll be ready for Sunday. But if he plays him, obviously we got to hope for the best with Bale,
does
and hope that
Steven
he refinds
Bergwijn
his
make a
form.
difference? Steven Bergwijn, does he
I
make a
was thinking
difference
about him
today?
today. No, I definitely was thinking about him. I think it was right before Delhi came on, and I was like, man, like this game could definitely use some Steven Bergwijn if he is often firing.
That
It's
was the
so hard to play a
61st
man
minute.
when it's so hard to think about putting him in when you know you're not going to get any goals out of him. I can't remember when was the last time he scored a goal. I
I think
think
versus
it's
Manchester United,
Man United
when
last year.
we Project Restart
Oh my God, man.
won that
Like
game
the
for
guy
us.
is just allergic to goals this year. He's put himself in really good positions for a lot of them, specifically like the games against Liverpool, where he could have had 2 goals in both of those games. Like,
In the first half.
yeah, and you get performances like obviously the ones against like City and the reverse fixture last year against United, and you think that obviously the potential's there. It's just he's just got to work on his finishing a little bit. He'll be fine. But I definitely do think
So
we missed him a little bit today.
in the 57th minute, we subbed Bale for Sissoko.
Yeah.
And then 4 minutes later, 5 minutes later, we subbed Tanguy for Delhi, which I'm not against that. I'm all for that.
I would have liked to have seen Bergvine on instead of
Instead of
Sissoko though.
Sissoko. That's exactly where I was going with it. That I
Well,
felt like that was a
when I
strictly defensive move.
when I saw
But
that Sissoko was coming on, I thought that he was going because they only showed like him getting ready or whatever. They didn't show who was coming off yet. I thought they were going to bring off Doherty, and I thought Mourinho was going to play Sissoko at right back like he has in the past. Um,
I'm not against that. Anything other than Doughboy is my
yeah,
motto.
I thought that's what was going to happen, and I was surprised that he took off Bale. But like,
If you're
there
bringing
was
off Bale, you got to give me some speed on the offense. That's my thing. You got to
on
give
one
me
hand,
Bergwijn.
I was disappointed with Bale's performance today, so I wasn't really too mad about him coming off. I just didn't think,
He did
obviously
look upset.
he didn't have the defensive support. He wasn't tracking back. When he didn't have the ball, he was kind of standing still, wasn't really making any of those deadly runs that he has been making the past like what 2 or 3 weeks or so. Um, but yeah, I thought they were going to bring off Doherty, and I thought Sissoko was going to have to play right back for the rest of the game. Which,
But
like you, I wouldn't have been opposed to it, but
we have
obviously
Aurier on
he's
the
not a
bench,
pure right
so
back. So yeah,
if you're
yeah,
making that Doherty exchange, I think you bring in Surge.
yeah,
That's my thought there. When I saw, Sissoko getting ready, I did think the same thing. I was like, this has got to be. I was thinking honestly, in Dombele, he might be doing that for to have Hoybier and Sissoko kind of sit that defensive end. But whenever I saw it was Bale, I was a little confused as to okay, we have no offensive creativity. You're bringing Sissoko in for a guy who, even if he's looking lethargic, I feel like adds something more offensively than Sissoko. To
yeah,
me, when I saw that, I said, why not Bergvine? I know he's not been the most confident. He hasn't had the greatest stretch, but to me, he's got the pace. He's got some creativity. He's got the chance for something fantastic. He's also got the
yeah,
chance to give you exactly what Bale's giving you, and exactly what Sissoko would give you offensively. So, like, you don't, in my opinion, have much to lose by doing Bale for Bergvine instead of Sissoko.
hmm,
It seemed like a defensive move, and then literally right after Dele Alli gets subbed on, then there's a penalty. So now we're down 2-1, and we just subbed off. We just used our last two subs,
yep,
which I'm not against Delhi for Tanguy. I'm not against bringing Dele Alli in at all ever. But the Sissoko thing was kind of. There's been several games throughout the season. I'm not one to question Jose, but I am one to say like, why not this or why not that? And
yeah.
there's just been a few times I'm like, I wonder what he's thinking is more rather than like this is what I think would work because we're not professionals. Or
I
anything.
think today, in my opinion, we should have had instead of Ndombele playing next to Højbjerg in the midfield with Lucas ahead of him in the middle, I would rather see Ndombele play higher up the field. And then you need a player like I think we missed Gio today so much in that role. So instead of Ndombele playing right there alongside Højbjerg, I think Lo Celso or Harry Winks does a better job at filling that spot than Ndombele has, especially in the recent weeks. I just think Ndombele is so much more effective further up the pitch. Like I get he can link play. He's a great midfielder. He's a great passer and a dribbler, and he can dance through the opposition's midfield. But I think today you needed a person like either Harry Winks to distribute the ball really fast, try to keep Arsenal's midfielders one step behind him, or obviously Lo Celso if he's healthy. But it is what it is, man. It is what it is. We just have to swallow this one and move on. Because like I said, we don't have too much time to dwell on this one. We have a big game on Thursday. We need to qualify for the next round in the Europa League because, like I mentioned earlier on, I think it's the only way as of right now that we're making it to Champions League next year. So we just got to find a figure way to fix our form in the Premier League now. What were we? 3 straight wins in the Premier League, 4 straight wins total, and now we're just back to square one in the Premier League. But still have a good chance on Thursday, man. Still have a good chance to move on in the European competition that we're in, and it's going to be a good game to hopefully get some confidence back up in some of these players because it's definitely a gut punch when you lose a North London derby, man. It is the one game I cannot stand to lose every single year. If I could never see a Tottenham loss in a North London derby again in my life, I would gladly take that. It's a very, very big and hard pill to swallow for me when we lose to Arsenal, just because of how much I hate them. I can't stand that team, man.
I cannot agree with you more. I don't know what's worse, that team or their fans, but
It just sucks, man. It just flat out sucks. It sucks to lose to Arsenal. I hate losing to Arsenal. I just hate losing to Arsenal.
it's a unique feeling. I can say that much. It's definitely unique. Well, guess that's unless you want to preview Dynamo. I don't know what else. We can
I don't
only
know anything about
we
Dynamo,
can
bro. I'm not
only
gonna be able to do
reverse and
anything.
go forward over Doherty so much
Yeah,
before I get into a screaming match with
yeah,
myself. But I'm just kind of skimming over these next few Premier League games. We got Villa on Sunday, a week from today. And the following Saturday is Newcastle. To me, though,
yeah.
that should be 6 points. But I mean, I've been saying it's hard for me to say it shouldn't be a 3 points for Tottenham.
It should be.
We have United. I'd like it if we got a tie from that. I can sleep at night. It's at home. After that, we have Everton at Everton. I take a tie.
We got to win one of those, man. If we need to
But
if
then
we're
after
going to
that,
move up the
City.
table, if we're going to move up the table, we have to get a win against either United or Everton, and we can't lose. Like we have just got to stop losing games, man, because we've got to start taking points from some of these games. I would have been fine with a point today, especially after the first half that we had. But we've got to find a way to grind out some points against the top half of the table. I think we played 8 league games since I forgot what game they were referencing, but we've lost to all eight. We've lost all 8 times against I think top six, the top six in the Premier League at this point. Like it's
That's
just
not good.
we have to produce against the top teams, or else we're never going to get anywhere. We
Yeah, we
can't. We
can't.
can only you can only beat up on the Burnleys
Also, can't be
and
tying relegation teams.
Sheffield's.
Yeah,
Exactly. Can't be doing that either. You can only do that so many times before you're going to get exposed like we did today. So just got to keep our heads up, man. Heads up. Thursday's a big night. We got to win and just got to keep moving forward. At the end of the day, we're still in 2 cups and top four is still technically in place. So it's not the end of the world. And Arsenal's still in 10th
very
place.
true.
So they can't really talk at this point.
Hey, they're still looking at the bottom of our ass, so I can sleep at night with that. You can
Yep.
have your fun today, but yeah, in the beginning of the year, I was really excited to see where Arsenal was when they were sitting 15th, and I was like, what if Arsenal got relegated? I think at the time
Oh, that'd be
United
great.
wasn't doing good at the same time, so I was like having nice dreams about Arsenal, and my three to pick to get relegated were Burnley, Arsenal, and United. No, that's hopeful. My wife, I told her, I was like, what if United and Arsenal get relegated this year? How great would that be? She said, they're too rich. There's no
Nah,
way
yeah, there's no
the
way.
big men upstairs will allow both of
They
those
w-
teams to be relegated.
they would have added they would add like 5 weeks at the end of the season just to see if United could get themselves out of the relegation zone so they wouldn't lose money.
Well, I guess we can if we're gonna end this thing saying, okay, one last thing. Your name is Arsenal, and you're in the UK, which, if I'm not mistaken, British
Means
people
ass.
when they say ass, they say
It's
arse.
arse. Yeah.
So, and the British people that are in love with Arsenal, I mean, to me, here in America, I call it Arsenal
Yeah.
because I feel like that's the proper translation for Arsenal. Um, I just can never find myself rooting for a team who has the name ass in it,
Me neither. Couldn't be me.
but
Personally, couldn't be my football club.
never will be my football club. You can quote me on that. But yeah, man, it's good chatting. Hopefully, next time we do this,
We'll
it'll
make it
be
for real. And it'll be hopefully after a
happy.
win.
Yeah, it'll be happy.
I can do it on Thursday, but I have work on Sunday. I won't be able to watch the game on Sunday. So maybe the week after we can do like a recap either Sunday night or Monday or something like that. But we'll see.
Yeah. All right. Yeah, we can play it
But
by
yeah,
then. Figure that
Thursday
out.
I'll be able to watch the game. I don't have work, so I'll be good to go.
All right. Cool. All
All
right,
right,
man.
man.
Well, it's
I
been fun.
appreciate it.
This gives me
Yeah.
something to play with. So
Yeah, just let me know
make
if
it
you
a
need
little
anything
fun.
else, okay? Or if you need me
Also,
to do anything.
yeah, with the social media stuff, man, I'm having such trouble trying to get that fucking profile picture working right. And then just some of the social media stuff, uh, kind of like the bio and all that. I don't know what. I figure since it's just me and you, we just start this thing like just the two of us. You know what I mean? And then they
Yeah,
could
that's
just
fine.
come on as like guest speakers or whatever. But yeah, I'll text you more like when I run into that kind of stuff. Like for the first part, like I'm fucking around and trying to get that profile picture to work right. But